The Mongol Conquests, 1206–1368 AD. The war that shook the world. They came from the steppes like a storm. No walls could stop them. No empire could withstand them. For a century, they ruled the earth with fire and fear. Between 1206 and 1368, a people few had ever heard of, nomads from the heart of Asia, rose to forge the largest land empire in human history. They conquered more territory in 50 years than Rome had in 500. From the Pacific Ocean to the Danube River, from Korea to Persia, the Mongols reshaped the world. This is the true story of the Mongol conquests. How one man, born in the wilderness, united the tribes of the steppe and unleashed a force that would change civilization forever. Chapter 1. The Birth of a Conqueror, 1162–1206. Long before he was Genghis Khan, he was Temujin, a boy born into poverty on the cold Mongolian steppe around 1162 AD. His people, the Mongols, were nomads, hunters, herders, and warriors. They lived on horseback, moving with the seasons, loyal only to their clan. Life was brutal, and betrayal was survival. When Temujin was 9, his father was poisoned by rivals. His family was abandoned by their tribe, left to starve in the wilderness. Temujin learned early that mercy was rare, and loyalty was priceless. He grew into a fierce young man, cunning, charismatic, and unbreakable. He forged alliances, won battles, and united rival clans not through lineage, but through merit. A revolutionary idea in a tribal world. He promised his followers not riches, but purpose. By 1206, after years of war, Temujin crushed his enemies and united the tribes under one banner. At a great gathering called the Kurultai, he was proclaimed Genghis Khan, universal ruler. And with that, a new empire was born, one that would set the world on fire. Chapter 2. The Steppe Army, the Engine of Empire. The Mongol army was unlike any the world had ever seen. It was an extension of the steppe itself, fast, disciplined, and merciless. Each warrior rode with multiple horses, switching mounts to travel over 100 kilometers a day. They carried composite bows that could pierce armor at 200 meters. They fought in precise formations, communicating with flags and horns across the battlefield. There were no supply trains. They lived off the land or their enemies. Genghis organized his army into units of 10, 100, 1,000, and 10,000, called tumans. Loyalty was absolute. Cowardice meant death, but so did betrayal, even for generals. Genghis ruled through fear, but rewarded courage with wealth, status, and command. His soldiers were not just warriors. They were messengers, engineers, and spies. Before invading, Mongol scouts mapped rivers, roads, and cities. Before battle, Genghis offered surrender, and those who resisted faced annihilation. It was not just war. It was systematic domination. Chapter 3. The First Campaign, the Khwarezm Empire, 1219–1221. Genghis's first great conquest began with an insult. By 1218, the Mongol Empire bordered the powerful Khwarezmian Empire, which ruled Persia and Central Asia. Genghis sent a caravan of merchants to establish trade. The governor of the city of Otrar accused them of spying, seized their goods, and executed them. When Genghis demanded justice, the Shah, Ala ad-Din Muhammad II, beheaded his envoys and sent their heads back. It was a mistake that would destroy an empire. In 1219, Genghis unleashed hell. His armies, over 100,000 horsemen, crossed the desert in silence. They sacked city after city, Bukhara, Samarkand, Urgench, leaving behind only ashes and skulls. Before the Mosque of Bukhara, Genghis stood and addressed the terrified crowd. If you had not committed great sins, God would not have sent a punishment like me upon you. By 1221, the Khwarezmian Empire was gone. its cities burned, its people enslaved, its name erased. From the Caspian to the Hindu Kush, all bowed to the Mongol. Chapter 4. The Mongols in the West. Europe trembles. The 1221, 1242. After Persia fell, Genghis's generals pushed west into the unknown. One army rode across the Caucasus, defeating the Georgians, the Russians, and the Polovtsians. At the Battle of Kalka River in 1223, they annihilated a coalition of Slavic princes, then vanished back into the steppe like ghosts. Europe trembled. But Genghis was not done. He turned east once more. Chapter 5. China and the Fall of Empires, 1209 to 1227. Before his western campaign, Genghis had already turned his eyes toward the riches of China. At the time, China was divided. The Western Xia, the Jin dynasty, and the Song dynasty ruled different regions. Genghis began by crushing the Xia and Jin. His siege engines leveled their cities. His cavalry surrounded their armies. He showed no mercy to those who resisted. Entire populations were wiped out. The Jin emperor fled. His capital burned. By 1227, the Mongols had overrun northern China. But that same year, as he prepared to invade the west again, Genghis Khan fell ill and died, possibly from wounds or disease. He was buried in an unmarked grave somewhere in Mongolia, his location lost forever. He had conquered more of the earth's surface than any man before him, but his sons would conquer even more. Chapter 6. The Sons of the Khan, 1227 to 1259. After Genghis's death, his vast empire was divided among his sons and grandsons. Each ruled a khanate, but all swore loyalty to the great Khan in Mongolia, Ogedei Khan, and the conquest of Europe. Under Ogedei, Genghis's third son, the Mongols turned west again. They crushed the Volga Bulgars, overran Russia, and stormed into Hungary and Poland. In 1241, at Legnica and Mohi, Mongol armies destroyed two of Europe's strongest coalitions. Europe was defenseless. The road to Vienna lay open. Then, suddenly, the invasion stopped. News came that Ogedei had died, and all Mongol princes were summoned home to elect a new great Khan. Europe was spared, by chance. But the Mongols did not vanish. They had proven unstoppable, and the world knew it. Mongols in the Middle East. In 1258, under Hulagu Khan, the Mongols struck at the heart of the Islamic world, Baghdad, the jewel of the Abbasid Caliphate. The city surrendered, trusting negotiation. But Hulagu gave no mercy. Baghdad was sacked, its libraries burned, its scholars slaughtered. The Tigris River, chroniclers wrote, ran black with ink and red with blood. The House of Wisdom, center of Islamic learning for centuries, was gone. From China to Syria, no empire remained unscarred. Chapter 7. The Empire at its height, 1260 and to 1284. By the late 13th century, the Mongol Empire stretched from the Pacific to the Mediterranean, the largest contiguous empire in history. It was divided into four great khanates. 1. The Yuan dynasty in China. 2. The Ilkhanate in Persia. 3. The Chagatai Khanate in Central Asia. 4. The Golden Horde in Russia and Eastern Europe. At its heart ruled Kublai Khan, Genghis's grandson, visionary, ambitious, and cultured. In 1260, he became Great Khan and turned his capital to Khanbalik, modern Beijing. He adopted Chinese customs, patronized art and science, and declared the Yuan dynasty ruling all of China, the rule of Kublai Khan. Kublai blended Mongol and Chinese traditions, creating a global empire of trade and tolerance. He welcomed merchants from across the world, even Europeans like Marco Polo, who marveled at the splendor of his court. Under the Pax Mongolica, the Silk Road flourished like never before. Goods, ideas, and technologies flowed between East and West, but unity never lasts forever. Chapter 8. Cracks in the Empire, 1294–1368. After Kublai's death in 1294, the empire began to fracture. The Mongols had conquered the world, but they couldn't conquer distance. The Khanats drifted apart, ruled by rival families, bound only by memory. Civil wars erupted. The once unified empire splintered into competing dynasties. In China, corruption and famine spread. The native Chinese rose in rebellion under the Red Turbans, led by a peasant named Zhu Yuanzhang. He captured Beijing in 1368, ending the Yuan dynasty and founding the Ming Empire. It was the end of Mongol rule in China, and the symbolic end of the Mongol Age. The empire that began with a horseman on the steppe had burned brighter and died faster than any before it. Chapter 9. The Legacy of the Mongols. The Mongol Empire was built on destruction, but it reshaped the world in its wake. They destroyed cities, yet built the first true global trade network. They slaughtered millions, yet connected continents. Their reign of terror paved the way for cultural exchange between East and West, from paper money to gunpowder, from mathematics to medicine. They spread religious tolerance, allowing Muslims, Christians, Buddhists, and shamans to coexist. Their postal system, the Yam, stretched across 8,000 kilometers, carrying messages faster than any empire before, and they changed warfare forever. Their strategies, speed, deception, psychological terror, would be studied for centuries. Every empire after them, Ottoman, Russian, British, inherited their vision of total domination. But their story is not one of glory alone. Behind their victories lay unimaginable suffering. Cities turned to dust, cultures erased, millions slain. They were the storm that united the world and nearly destroyed it. Chapter 10. The Man Behind the Legend. Genghis Khan remains one of history's most complex figures, both conqueror and creator. In Mongolia, he is revered as a nation's father. In the lands he conquered, he is remembered as death incarnate. Yet even his enemies could not deny his genius. He once said, "A man's greatest joy is to conquer his enemies, to drive them before him, to take from them what they hold dear." But history tells another truth, that his empire's greatest legacy was not fear, but connection. From the ashes of his wars rose a world more connected, more global, more human than ever before. Chapter 11. Epilogue. The Empire of the Winds. When the last Mongol Khanate fell in the 14th century, the world breathed again. The steppe grew quiet, the roads reopened, and the age of empires turned westward, toward Europe and the seas. But the Mongols had already changed everything. They had shown that one man's vision, born from exile and revenge, could unite half the world. They had proven that even from the coldest wilderness could come a fire powerful enough to light, or burn, civilization itself. They rode across the earth like the wind, unseen, unstoppable, unforgettable.